Not your average tabletop. Woohoo!
Welcome to Not Your Average Tabletop. I'm Zach.
And I'm Mac.
And today we're giving our first impressions of Stonespine Architects. Or as everyone seems to like to call it, Stonespire Architects. I don't know what it is, if there's just a lot of games that use the word spire, but it just feels like it goes together. This is a newer one from Thunderworks Games, and it's from the designer of Cartographers, which is one of your favorite games. I like the game too quite a bit, and I tend to like everything in kind of the role-player universe that this is also in. If you've ever played other Thunderworks games, I think they've got like Cartographers, Lockup, role-player adventures. I think they have other ones too, but yeah, this is the most recent one. So as you can see, we also have a friend here with us, a third person, and it is Master Architect Hortgully, which I may or may not have backed. So I was expecting or hoping to really like this one.
Yes, and the box was really big, and he was like, why is the box so big? And then he pulls out this 15-inch stuffy, and I was like, what is that?
Yes. The box that all of this was shipped in. Not this box. It did not fit in there.
It didn't go in there, no.
But yes, I had totally forgotten. And then for some reason I didn't think he was quite as large as he was, but he is quite large, and he's very, very soft.
He is. He's the softest plushie I've ever seen, and like...
It's pretty impressive.
He's my bestie.
For them not being in the business of plushies to make a pretty solid one, I would say. I'll give that a rating of a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, Hortgully. You're a 10 out of 10, baby.
I don't know that you had any thoughts on this one going into it, outside of, I'm sure, thought it was maybe going to be good based on the fact that it was the designer of Cartographers.
I wouldn't go that far, because I was thinking Lockup is way different than Cartographers. Role Player is way different than Cartographers, so I was like...
I don't think those were from the same designer, though.
Oh. Well, either way,
maybe they are.
I knew the artwork, like...
I know Lockup isn't.
From the publisher of Cartographers.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, oh boy, it's another heavy, heavy game. Not that Lockup maybe or Role Player are that heavy, but they're heavier. And so I was like, oh boy, here we go again.
No, I knew this one from what I looked at was going to be one of their kind of lighter weight games, one of the more approachable ones that they have for sure, because kind of the main mechanisms in the game are kind of drafting cards to create a dungeon, and then just kind of using pattern building to be able to do that. You kind of have an entrance point and an exit point that you're trying to work through, but you also want like pretty much your whole dungeon connected essentially as well, and then there are little features in each dungeon that you kind of want in certain spaces, and then you get some kind of victory point cards throughout the game, so then throughout the game you'll be like, oh, well, now I want this as well, and it just adds other layers, things to think about each time. I would say we actually played this one twice, and I would say so the box says 45 to 60 minutes. I don't think it probably took that long.
No, we were playing 2-player though, so that maybe makes it a little bit faster.
It goes up to 5, it says, so yeah. The 5-player count might be it might take a little bit longer, but it is all pretty much simultaneous play, so I think there's a few things that make it take a little bit longer with 5 players, but overall I don't think that would add a significant amount of time. It was pretty much just that simple once you were doing it, but it is still from those 2 plays, it was a fun puzzle, and it can be a little annoying based on what so there's these little things you can buy at the end of each round, so that's kind of another thing you're focusing on, is you're doing layer by layer. You're doing 4 total layers of this dungeon, 4 cards each, and on the bottom of these cards there's also a little coin amount that you'll get at the end of the round to be able to buy kind of some tokens with those features in it, to be able to kind of put those into certain spaces as well. And there's one of those that can help you kind of connect your stuff a little bit better, and in our second game we didn't have a single one of those come out, so no one had a chance at kind of
brutal.
Changing up their dungeon much.
Yes, you're always balancing kind of what you need on your personal player board due to your blueprints versus what your scoring is
Mhm.
versus what the pathway is, because all of those are going to have varying benefits
Desires.
to you.
Yeah.
And so you're constantly having to choose kind of which one is best for me. And I did that, and I chose one, and I was like, it's all right, I'll get a secret passageway, and not a single one came out. So I was like, all right, well, I've learned my lesson.
Can't bank on that.
Can't bank on it.
Yeah, you kind of sometimes too when you're drafting, you're like, I'll come back to getting that because you have your personal blueprint, and sometimes right away you get less and less cards each time to choose from. So right away you might be like, well, then I could match that up on my blueprint, but I really like this one, and I could really use it here because it might be like a 4-way cross or something, and it's like, okay, that'll open my dungeon up, but that I may never get another chance at that card, that type of card even.
Again.
So yeah, managing that is a lot of fun, and yeah, I would say after 2 plays of this one, we haven't played a ton of. Well, I guess we did play at the convention we went to. We played quite a few new games there, but outside of that, I don't know that we've played a lot of new games this year, but I would say this one's definitely towards the top for me. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I'd probably give it like an 8 to 8.25 after those couple of plays, and I think it's one that remains puzzly. It's not like something you can necessarily solve because you're going to get different types of sets of cards. Sometimes it's just not going to be good for you, which is just the luck of the game a little bit. Because I would say there's not a ton of mitigation in this game. There's that little bit with those tokens, but you sometimes comes down to just what cards you're getting, and sometimes your opponent might just be getting better ones than you are, and maybe there'd be it maybe feel a little bit different. Like I said, we've only played at 2 players. It might feel a little bit different with more players because then you're not, having the same hand go back and forth. Although I would say I never felt like that was like something I could rely on, like in some other drafting games where you play at 2 players, where it's like, well, I can then for sure get that one because you're playing one in a 2-player game and then you're discarding one, so the hand can change a lot. It
really whittles down,
really quickly. So. Yeah. It's not even like you can rely on being able to get something back necessarily.
Exactly. Yeah, I'd agree with you. I think this one was really good. I'd probably give it about that 8 range as well. There's so much, like Zach said, I think the scoring is so good because there's such a variety of elements between monsters and traps. And then I think the way they did the scoring was really clever, where there's one kind of group objective that you're fighting over, and then you have your individual challenges. And they didn't just say, like, oh, you just have to have the most monsters. Like, they did really creative things of, like, having monsters in this row, or maybe having exits on the outside, or, you need goblins and treasure chests, So I think they did a really good job of diversifying the scoring, because I don't think that you can really plan for those. Like, it's just what comes out and what you have. So I think that's what makes this game stronger than
I would agree.
Than some others. So
yeah, I would agree, because those can be, I think probably in both of our games, those ended up being probably anywhere from probably 30 to 50% of our total points. So being able to get the right ones of those is going to definitely increase your score by quite a bit.
Hopefully.
Typically.
Hopefully.
But yeah, otherwise I'd recommend checking this one out, looking into it a little bit more. We've got an unboxing video if you want to kind of see some of the different elements inside the box. But otherwise, we hope to see you on that video. And as always, don't forget to keep on nibbling on our content.